I know that some of you in this room don't write and some of you do. I just want to remind all of you that the first person who reads you is you. So if you're writing, remember, you are your first reader. I had a father who was crazy. Some of you have crazy fathers, and you may understand some of it, some of you don't. I worry sometimes, and I'm not going to run over, but you know, you worry sometimes. No, you do, because men are getting to be crazy, but I promised that I wouldn't do anything political, and I'm not, but
What's up, CLI Nation? This is Hiram Sims coming to you live from the Sims Library of Poetry. Today we're profiling Nikki Giovanni, who is a poet, an essayist, a children's book writer, a commentator, and one of the dopest poets to ever live. Here are her top rules for writers. Enjoy.
I think in the 60s, one of the things you found was that there were the beginning of the so-called black culture movement. There were a number of poets who were feeding into and out of each other. And as more and more people began to think they were God in their various names and ranks, less and less people began to write poetry. And I think that I would really question, there's no poetry movement of the 70s at all that anyone can speak of in any way, shape, or form, as a matter of fact. I think that pretty much the 60s killed it off because people began to think that one poem could free the world. I think it was a very destructive effect. It was a bore, first of all, and they tended not to encourage other young people. I think that it's disgraceful that we came through the 60s and we have so few young poets available today. They just aren't there.
I think the best thing you can do as a writer is try not to ask yourself, why did you do something? Because then you're trying to justify it. And then when you try to do that, then you'll make sure that you don't what's going to now be called make a mistake. And you have to make a mistake. If you're going to write, you have to make a mistake. And I'm a poet. We build bridges. We find ways to come together. And Pope didn't say, by the way, Donald Trump. He just said people who build walls when we should be building bridges. I couldn't agree more.
That was very poetic.
Well, he's smart. Sometimes you write a poem just because, damn it, you want to. One of the things I wanted to share this one. One of the things that bothers me now is, and I do not understand this in all fairness, I don't know what Americans are afraid of. Everybody keeps running around saying things like, well, we want to be safe. From what? The craziest thing in the world is us. That is the truth. So I wrote a poem which I really like because, and especially those of you who write, you cannot be afraid, and you cannot be worried about who does and who doesn't like what you do, because there's always somebody's not going to like it. If nobody doesn't like it, something's wrong with it. That's the truth. It's a whore, it's a prostitute. If somebody isn't saying no, I agree that you have to say yes. But if somebody is not understanding it, something's wrong with it. You have made it do something. You're a whore, and you don't want to do that. You don't. I mean, think about Miles Davis. Think about Charlie Parker. Think about the people that say, oh, I don't understand what they're doing. They were only a genius. If everybody understands you, you got to have an IQ of 3 or 4.
I think, first of all, it's important for people to write. There is this tendency among black youngsters to be poets without having ever written a poem, let alone thought about getting it published. I think that you have to write if you're going to be a poet. Then you have to let somebody know that you do that. It is not sufficient to have 300 poems at home that you've written over the last 30 years. You really sort of have to get that out, and I think that's important. I think that you have to speak English. That is very important because so many of our kids communicate with yeah, man, you dig, well, I can tell you, and who the hell knows what they're saying? You really have to use the language. You can bend it, you can change it, you can add and subtract, but you really have to have a language, and that means basic noun, verb, pronoun, adjective, sentence. At the end, a paragraph begins a new one. I think that you have to have some basic skills, and I think that one of the things that a lot of youngsters really took to heart, probably because of laziness, was that just being black was cool. And you don't have to read anything, you don't have to go anyplace, you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is be black and talk about your life. You say, man, I lived that. But just because you did doesn't mean you can express it, that you can actually share it. It doesn't make a poem. I mean, your life does not make a novel, doesn't even make a biography. In some cases, it's just not interesting. And you have to face that too. Everybody's not a poet or a writer. I don't mean to be harsh, it's just that it's a fact. We really do have to get down into basic skills, because I do think a lot of people have latent talents. But latency is just that. It has to be developed. It really has to be worked on. And I think that we should be encouraging those kids to, go to school, stay in school, and for Christ's sake, to read a lot.
Well, I'm relatively intelligent. So I assume intelligence. And so when I'm writing, I'm putting things in that intelligent people can. I say very few dumb people quote me. I don't know how else to say that. That's terrible, isn't it?
No, that's good.
People are going to just walk out. Well, who is she talking? But no, it's there. And, you're trying to, for the writers in the room, you're trying to tell your story as you see it. And you hope other people see it. I present my story as I see it, and I present it in love. If this was a meeting of the Klan, if all of you were Klans, I'm serious, if all of you had come in here I would have read the same poems. Because that's all I know how to do. But then I come from Nat King Cole, who stood on the stage in Alabama when they attacked him for singing, I love you for sentimental reasons. If Nat can do that, I can read those poems.
All right.
Thank you all for watching Nikki Giovanni's Top Rules for Writers. If there were any rules that resonated with you, please drop it in the chat and leave a comment on what you thought about what she had to say. If you'd like to learn more about her poetry, you can visit simslibraryofpoetry.org. And if you'd like to learn more about our writing classes, you can visit communitylit.org. Thanks for watching.